I call the October 2nd, 2023 regular meeting of the Union County Board of Commissioners to order. It is time for the invocation, and I will turn that over. Say that real quickly. Okay. If you would be inclined to join, if everyone would bow their heads. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this blessed sacred time for all of us to come together as constituents of Union County. We ask you to be over all of the decisions that we make tonight, and that we would honor your word and deed in everything that we say and do. And we thank you for those that are here with us tonight and those that are joining online, and we just ask for your continued blessings over this county. In your name we pray, amen. Amen. And if everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next item on the agenda is informal comments from the community. Madam Clerk, has anyone signed up to speak in informal comments? Okay, thank you. Each speaker must address the board from the lectern and begin their remarks by giving their name, stating where they are residents of Union County, indicating the municipality within which they reside, if any. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to make remarks. A tone will sound at the conclusion of your remarks. A speaker may not yield any of his or her time to another speaker. Speakers may not discuss matters which are the subject of a public hearing, and they must be courteous in their language and presentation. Restatements or repetitive comments by the same speaker, whether at the same or separate meetings, may be ruled out of order and terminated by the chair. Personal attacks will not be tolerated. Speakers may leave their written comments and/or supporting documents with the clerk to the board. Okay, the first speaker we have tonight is Kimberly Morris Hansley.
Kimberly Morrison Hansley, and I reside in unincorporated Union County. Successful leadership is about influence, not authority. It is very apparent that some of you never intended to have a positive influence. Your intention was clearly to be in positions of authority and control, and you even employ individuals to do your evil bidding. No minimum housing standard, but condemning properties when it fits the county's needs. Lack of adequate infrastructures to educate children and to run small businesses, i.e. internet. Sitting in the seat of public service while only self-serving and discriminating against anyone that does not align with the county's mission. Denying access to the taxpayers, to the paid library facilities, to law-abiding tax-paying citizens, nonprofits, and the biggest, baddest, boldest, and oldest civil rights organization in this county, the NAACP. Be on notice that if your mission is to exclude people of color, and your vision of Union County is where everyone looks and thinks the same as you, it will not go unchecked. Your vision is broken. It should be a county that includes everyone, rooted in liberation where all persons can exercise their civil and human rights without discrimination and discriminatory practices and policies. The mission should be to achieve equity and hinge on equality. I demand that this board be committed to a county without racism, where Black people and all people can enjoy equitable opportunities in a thriving community. I end with this. In the presence of evil, I shall not stand by. In the midst of battle, I shall have no fear. In darkness, I shall be light. And in vengeance, I shall have no mercy.
The next speaker is Reagan Shaw.
My name is Reagan Shaw. I'm a Union County resident from Waxhaw. It was wrong for this board to partner with Moms for So-Called Liberty for Constitution Day. Here are 3 reasons. Number 1, this board has not made it clear to other community organizations whom you've excluded what its specific criteria is for permitting use of our tax-funded libraries. If the public was made aware in advance that reading picture books was the sole criteria for holding Constitution Day events, I'm sure other community organizations could provide that programming in a far more entertaining and more impactful way. Number 2, Moms for So-Called Liberty seem to be a politically partisan organization. Here in Union County, the group has engaged in political endorsements in local elections. Across the U.S., as far as I'm aware, the group has only ever backed Republican candidates, some of whom have blatantly violated the Constitution. The 917 Society, who produces the constitutions that Moms for So-Called Liberty distributes, holds its fundraisers at none other than Mar-a-Lago. Irony is truly dead, for this is the home of the twice impeached ex-president who helped foment a violent insurrection against our government, who disrupted the peaceful transfer of power, and who now has collected 91 charges in 4 separate indictments, including crimes against, guess what, our Constitution. Number 3, Moms for So-Called Liberty members themselves are becoming known for their unconstitutional acts. Some of these acts actually target our public libraries and violate the 14th Amendment of the very Constitution they pretend to love. For instance, here is a book that a local member had banned from one of our public school libraries last year. She said it was too confusing to explain to children why 2 men have a baby. This type of homophobic nonsense is allowed to flourish on the Moms for So-Called Liberty public forums. Here's a sample from Union, quote, "Any healthy society must publicly promote heterosexuality and discourage all other forms. Crush them or they crush us," end quote. Moms for So-Called Liberty handing out the Constitution is kind of like Al Capone handing out copies of the tax code. For anyone paying attention, it's as counterfeit as a Trump University degree or as fraudulent as the charitable activities of the Trump Foundation. We see the con job. For being a true American isn't measured in how many flags you brandish outside your home or how many bald eagles you fetishize in your social media feed. It isn't measured in how loudly you sing the national anthem. And it isn't measured in how many constitutions you distribute. Being a true American is measured in how well you practice the principles of equality the U.S. Constitution nobly attempts to establish. Only when you learn to respect other people's liberties are you honoring the glory of the U.S. Constitution. That and that alone is what makes you a true American worthy of celebrating its institutional documents. It appears some of our elected officials in Union County desperately need a refresher course in American civics. If you need someone to make the lessons entertaining and impactful, I know some local community organizations that can arrange that.
Archie Hansley.
Good evening, Archie Hansley. I live in unincorporated Union County. I'm before this board today to take up an issue that has been brought to my attention as it relates to the facility use agreement that has actually been placed for the citizens here in Union County. And one phrase has actually been brought to my attention, which is actually lending and government speech, which from what I understand is actually the purpose behind this that was drafted by your staff attorney. And in all of my research, I've actually not found one thing that's positive about that. Everything has been controversial, even to the point that in Rossenberger versus Rectors and Visitors of the University of Virginia, the Supreme Court declared when the government targets not subject matter, but particular views taken by speakers on a subject, the violation of the First Amendment is all the more blatant. Viewpoint discrimination is thus an egregious form of content discrimination. The government must abstain from regulating speech when the specific motivation, ideology, or the opinion or perspective of the speaker is the rationale for the restriction. So I would ask, first and foremost, with the policy, the NAACP, of course, is the oldest civil rights organization there is. And as citizens, local citizens of Union County, we have had the ability to use the library for decades. Not only the NAACP, but local, everyday tax-paying citizens, individuals who are starting businesses, individuals for whatever reason have used the library. So my question to you is this evening, what is the purpose of this policy? I've been informed individuals that get to use the facilities, they must align with the vision or the values of this board. With that being said, we've heard it already tonight, which is very, very concerning to me. What commonality does Moms for Liberty and this board share? What do you actually stand for? Some of you may be intertangled with Moms for Liberty. I do not know. But we are to set those personal ideologies aside. We can't impose those ideologies on normal, local, tax-paying citizens. Those are public facilities that we pay for, that you are taking upon yourself, your values, and I say this because we all know we have a conservative board. So if it's based on that, you're wrong. We're looking at viewpoint discrimination. And what also is most concerning to me is we have a conservative board. Yes, you've lost one of your colleagues, but it just amazes me that if this board, along with county management, really wanted to make a difference, all it takes is a supermajority, 3-1 or 4-0, but you can't come to a conclusion. So what are you telling us?
Delwyn Archer.
Delwyn Archer, unincorporated Union County. I'm aghast at the actions that were taken at the last commissioners' meeting. I'm deeply disappointed that you would have the arrogance to deny the will clearly expressed of the people in Union County. I am dismayed at your betrayal of the process. I want to commend Commissioner Brian Helms and Vice Chair Melissa Merrill for their restraint and their tact. And trust me, while my voice is low, inside it's screaming. Your placement of your own personal power agenda above the office that you were elected to is reprehensible. I won't stand for it. I won't let it go unchecked. I won't let it go unaddressed. And I will make it my personal aim, with apologies to our animal control people, I will make it my aim that you won't be able to run for dog catcher in Union County.
Allison Powers.
Good evening, Union County. Good evening, Board of County Commissioners and staff. My name is Allison Powers. I'm chairman of the Union County Republican Party, and I live in unincorporated Union County, Precinct 28C. I do want to talk again about the process that we went through to make a recommendation for a replacement for the vacancy on the board. We use the same process that has been used in the past. The only difference is we did it in half the time. So I'd like to speak a little bit to our person that we recommended. He's a very nice guy. He's a Union County resident. He's a longtime supporter of our party. And he fills in a little bit of a space that we don't have the expertise on the board where his business is agriculture. A lot of Union County's business is agriculture, and I think that's very important to consider. Thank you.
Michelle Nichols.
Hello, I'm Michelle Nichols. I live in Weddington. I'm a 30-and-1/2 I just figured that out, resident of Union County. Moved here on a gravel road where the Deal Road schools are now, Weddington schools. I have always paid my taxes because that's what you're supposed to do when you're a law-abiding citizen and care about other people that live in the community with you and avail themselves of community services. I have used the libraries forever. I held a fundraiser with some fellow Weddington residents for a Laps for the Library walkathon. I've always been involved in the community. And I took my kids to story time. I've gone to workshops on Excel to learn how to improve my business skills. I have attended workshops on retirement planning in the libraries. None of these, except for story time, were sponsored by the library. I was shocked when I called the library, first I emailed. I went on the website and I sent a request to use the meeting space in April for a community meeting, and I never got a response. So I emailed again. I never got a response. Finally, I called the Western branch to talk to the librarian there and just said, I'm trying to get a library room at the main library. I can't get a response back from them. Can you tell me what's going on? So there was nothing posted on the website about a change in policy. I was given the name of the person to speak with at Monroe branch. She told me that the library would now, new policy had nothing to do with COVID, that in April 2023, it was only to be used for the government use or for a library program. That's not true now. That policy, now I think I did see it on the library website recently, but I feel like this was very underhanded. I feel like there are taxpayers who pay no matter what their affiliation is politically, no matter whether they have children in our schools or in private schools. We all pay taxes. If not, then we're violating the law. And yet now we're picking and choosing who can use those services that our money is going in to pay for all of us to use. I'm concerned about where this will go next when there are choices like that made to remove public use. I'd like to see everybody have public use, not an individual's decision or a commissioner decision. Thank you.
Edwin Elam.
To the Vice Chair, to Commissioners, Ms. Lynn West, Brian Matthews, County Manager, to the consultant who was formerly employed here, Ms. Michelle Lancaster, and to the staff, and to, above all, the citizens of Union County. On Monday, September the 18th, in this very chamber that belongs to all the people of Union County and every citizen, it seemed to be very caustic. And some of those words cannot go unchecked. The language, topic, and the dissertation concerning sunscreen was offensive to melanated-skinned people at home and those who work for businesses and throughout Union County at all levels. And the guilty party needs to keep their unscientific cultural opinions lectures out of their mouth. Many of us don't need sunscreen, and I am standing here requesting that the guilty party stop throwing shade on the matters you know nothing about. All of God's people don't look like you, nor is the population challenged to coexist with you and others, the guilty party who use these terse words. Given the backdrop of your words, they are historically offensive. Stop pretending you don't know what you're saying. I am well read in many subjects, and not to go raw on you, I've looked this way all my life, so I'm an authority on this subject. Stop trying to continually divide this country and this community with your racial and miscultural steps. Or is that what your so-called mandate was about? Seems no message was left with you. How can ignorance on several matters be lumped into the craziness that's been going on here in Union County at the government level, in front of the people's seal of this county? Do your employers know of the evil and reckless language being used here? Or is this how they think? Or is this how they run their businesses and their operations? And as I take my seat, we are all taxpayers here, and people you say you speak for can't pay the bills that we all help to subsidize if we were not here, and not part of this simple wall that no one knows how to seemingly manage. You have sent our tax bills soaring. Many of us get no benefit in your biased protocols. You don't speak for everyone, and that is clear. And I know people who look different than you, and many who look like you. They don't like all of the stuff that's going on right here at this dais. Blended families, people that are mixed races, mixed cultures, and they even know better with your reckless and blathering all the time.
Jen
There's
Sanders,
a leadership. What was that?
your time is up. I'm sorry.
I'm asking you for a little consideration here for all the men and women that you let go who didn't look like me. Just have the room. Just one more minute, please. There's leadership and a leadership crisis at this seat of power. And not enough people are participating in trying to help clean this mess up. This is a call to action to the people in the middle. I'm asking you not to curse yourselves. I'm praying for you. Ignorance of the laws you are violating is no excuse. Learn to be prayerful and to use better language for our children. And when I say our children, I mean all of our children. It's not a code word for me. Who also understood what you said. As I close, your blathering was so egregious that I shared with law enforcement in leaving the room on the 18th, that it felt like somebody ought to be arrested. It turns out that there is no law for stupidity, even in this lofty chamber that is calling the people to action. All of us together can do better. That is what I'm hoping for. God bless you all.
Jen Sanders,
I'll take my glass off. Hi. Hi, my name is Jen Sanders, and I'm a Union County resident who lives in Melissa Chapel. I'm here for accountability. I'm here because everyone makes mistakes, but there comes a time when you have to stand up in the moment and apologize and take the hit. That's what makes us human, that we all make mistakes. We learn from them and we ask for forgiveness. We all know that the disaster on September 16th was when Moms for Liberty, an anti-government extremist group, was able to have access to a room that surely didn't qualify under the policy as stated. This is where the mistakes happened. And instead of doing the right thing and admit your mistake, you doubled down, which put you in a bit of a pickle. Because when you actually come out publicly to support an anti-government extremist group with our tax dollars, it matters. See, accountability matters. You put in a policy that was meant to be discriminative, but why? To alienate a particular group of tax-paying citizens? Maybe. Transparency is important. We all come from different backgrounds and we have different views, but as public officials, isn't it your job to build bridges and not walls? If shining light on this changes the policy, which desperately needs to be done, then we've done our job. By the way, librarians are stuck in the middle and they're running scared.
Supporting information, just
Clancy Balcom,
Good evening. My name is Clancy Balcom. I live in unincorporated Union County. I'm a candidate to fill a seat on the Board of Commissioners, which became vacant due to the passing of our good friend, a servant to the county, Stony Russian, who I miss dearly. I would like to take this opportunity to express my gratitude to everyone who has supported me in this ongoing effort. I appreciate the support given to me by the Executive Committee of the Republican Party, where I received the majority of the votes in the first round of voting. I would like to say that Union County is home for me and my family for multiple generations. And I will represent my Union County friends and neighbors to the best of my ability and do my part to make Union County continue to be a great place to live and raise a family. So thank you all very much.
That concludes informal comments. The next item on our agenda is item 23-636, a public hearing for text amendment number 2023-001, Transportation Plan Amendment. I will open the public hearing and recognize Bjorn Hansen, Senior Planner, for comments from the county.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chairman, members of the board, Manager Matthews. This is a staff-initiated proposed amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance. And it is a fairly simple change. For background purposes, when sidewalks are required by Union County along the frontage of roads as a part of new development, we reference a 2014 multimodal transportation plan that had been completed and covered all of the county. That plan is now nearly a decade old, and some of the policies that the NCDOT uses to reference local plans for incorporating sidewalks or other types of improvements as a part of their projects is best identified through the comprehensive transportation plan, which is something the state actually requires. You're familiar with the comprehensive transportation plan because of the Waxhaw Parkway from last month. So these plans are fairly important. And the other good thing that we identified with using the comprehensive transportation plan as our reference document for sidewalks is that the municipalities in Union County also are a part of that plan process. And so when we make recommendations on their borders, we can be assured that this is something that is also consistent with their plans. So the text change is as follows. We would strike the multimodal transportation plan from the UDO and instead replace it with the green language saying comprehensive transportation plan instead of multimodal transportation plan. This would affect rights-of-way for sidewalks or multi-use paths. And again, rationale makes it consistent with our municipalities, makes it easier for us when we make recommendations to the NCDOT that they're consistent with what they would also look for, and it gives us flexibility for updating the plans in the future because we already have a forum that meets monthly, which is the Charlotte Regional Transportation Planning Organization. We presented this to the Land Use Board this past month. They recommended approval, and we have not received any public comments to date. So otherwise, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, but tonight would be a public hearing with action requested at the second meeting in October.
Madam Clerk, has anyone signed up to speak at the public hearing for this matter? Okay. So there are no speakers signed up for this public hearing. I will now close the public hearing. The next item on our agenda is item 23-695, Union County Board of Commissioners recognition. We would like to ask Commissioner Stoney Rushing's wife, Anne Marie, and Haley, if they would like to come forward. You know, Haley's welcome to join you up front. And while she's making her way to the front, we wanted to recognize that Stoney's birthday is Thursday, October 5th. And we wanted to invite you to be here tonight to receive items and tokens of our appreciation for Stoney's years of service to Union County as a commissioner and many other things, teaching classes about government and using your shooting range to teach youth about safety. And we just want to thank you and your family for the sacrifices you and the children made so that he could be a servant to Union County. So I cannot take credit for this because our incredible staff helped put all of this together, including the last gavel that was used by Stoney in his last meeting and many meetings before. On behalf of our staff, Union County government, the commissioners, we hope that, that this will serve as a memory for you and the children for the amazing work that he did for Union County over many, many years. Thank you. Okay, and I would also like to ask Stoney's dad if he would come up. Rocky Rushing, would you please come up? And so staff and the commissioners wanted to present you with this plaque tonight for your son's amazing service to Union County as a commissioner and as a dad and a business owner, husband, father, and your son, county commissioner from 2002 to 2006 and from 2014 to 2023. Thank you for your support over your son and everyone that's ever had the pleasure of working with you and Commissioner Stoney Rushing. We'd like to present you this gavel. We love you. Next, we have item 23-641, recognition of Lifesaver Award recipients. I want to recognize Liz Cooper from our Public Communications team as our director for this item. I will turn it over to Liz.
Thank you. Good evening, Vice Chair, Commissioners, Manager Matthews, and County staff. I'm honored to share with you about 4 of our social services employees who recently received a well-deserved Lifesaver Award from the management team. In June of 2023, Karen Tucker noticed one of her colleagues in social services didn't look well and instinctively sought help. Tucker and another colleague, Devanya Mobley, entered the employee's office to check on her. They realized it was a medical emergency and called for help. Shay Ivy and Shay Gordon rushed in to help stabilize the employee's head, as Mobley got the attention of a deputy to assist until paramedics arrived. Thanks to their swift response and coordinated efforts, the employee in distress received necessary medical attention and went to the hospital. And it's thanks to these 4 ladies right here who are here to receive some well-deserved recognition for receiving the Lifesaver Award. So please join me in congratulating them and thanking them for their heroic efforts. One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
The next item is for consideration, the consent agenda. Are there any revisions requested to the consent? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Madam Vice Chair, I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda as published.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are now at the business portion of the agenda. The first item of business is item 23-691, consideration of appointment of Clancy Balcom to fill the vacancy in the membership of the Union County Board of Commissioners.
Madam Vice Chair,
Yes.
I'll be making a motion on this item. I wanted to state again that, I was there on August 28th at the special meeting of the Republican Party, and I witnessed the effort that went into it on behalf of our executive committee and our party members. And as we near the end of the time frame that we have to make this appointment, I feel like it's important that we reconsider this item and provide this board with another opportunity to consider Mr. Balcom for the vacancy left by Commissioner Rushing. At that meeting on the 28th, August 28th, there were 40 voting members. 3 rounds were available for the party to determine their nomination, but only 1 was needed. Mr. Balcom won that simple majority in the first round. I want to go on record and say that I believe in the process that the Republican Party used to nominate Mr. Balcom. I feel like it was conducted fairly, and I appreciate your efforts. As commissioners, I feel as though we're representatives of the people of Union County. As representatives of the people, I ask that my fellow commissioners consider what the people of Union County would want in this appointment. I ask that you consider the detailed process as well as the effort that was made by our party representatives and put forth to bring us this nomination. I ask that you consider all the emails, all the phone calls that we've all received, as well as the speakers that have come to show support for Mr. Balcom. And so with that, I would like to make a motion to appoint Clancy Balcom to fill the vacancy in the membership of the Union County Board of Commissioners.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Okay, motion fails.
Madam Vice Chair, I'd like to entertain from my colleagues to see if there are any other nominations that you may be interested in making. During this process, Commissioner Richard Helms and I both nominated other candidates. I'd like to say I'm not wedded to any particular candidate. I think it would be preferable if this board could make a decision and make an appointment rather than having this go to the clerk of court. So I would, ask my fellow colleagues to the left of me if they're prepared to make any other nominations, or is it only one nomination that they're interested in?
Well, what I will say to that is there was a North Carolina general statute that was followed by the party. There was your own board policy that was followed accordingly, and I support the party's vote, 53 precincts, and executive committee, and I will not be offering another name except what the party recommended.
Madam Vice Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll echo those same sentiments. As I mentioned, I was there at that meeting. Commissioner Merrill and I were the only two commissioners on this board that attended that meeting, from the county, that is. And I witnessed firsthand their process. I believe that they got it right. When you win in the first round with a simple majority, overwhelmingly, then I believe that is a good showing, and it certainly supports that the party was representing what the will of the people was. And so therefore, Clancy Balcom would be the only nomination that I would support at this time.
I would also add that recommending two names who did not follow the procedure and general statute of application to the party, I think it is a mistake to offer up a name who did not even apply, and one who posted on social media that they were not interested in the vacancy. So 6 people did apply who followed the general statute, 6 people who followed the procedures and policies of our state and this board, and a vote was held by the party, and Clancy Balcom won in the first round, overwhelmingly. So I will not be making another motion that does not recognize and support the efforts by the party and the time that was spent and invested to vet those 6 applications and bring us the name Clancy Balcom.
Well,
Yes?
Madam Vice Chair, I think it's regretful that this board appears unable to make a decision on this appointment. We're not wedded to only consider one choice. I mean, indeed, if you look back at history, there are times where other choices were considered. If you look back at April of 2018, the first time this board addressed the question of filling the vacancy, the board split 2-2 on filling former Commissioner Lance Simpson's seat. I went back and watched that video because I wanted to be well informed of recent history, and the meeting was very cordial. Obviously, there was disagreement 2-2, but it was more cordial. It was a lot less caustic than what these deliberations have brought. And there's nothing magical. It's not betrayal. It's not treason for this board not to follow the recommendation of the Union County Republican Party. We're to consult with the Republican County of Union County, the executive committee of Union County Republican Party. We're not obliged to follow its recommendation. I take its recommendation seriously. I do. I had a wonderful conversation with you, Clancy. I think we can both agree for over an hour. Very pleasant. I have no problems with you at all as a person. You seem a delightful family man and a job creator in Union County who runs a business, and no problems there. But I'm not obliged to vote for the executive committee's recommendation for this vacancy. And, let's not mistake ourselves. It's, the executive committee of the Union County Republican Party is not the will of the people. It's precinct chairs and officers of the county party. And while I take that consultative role seriously, while I listen and seek to understand, I'm not obliged to follow that recommendation. I'm just not. And I'd like us to consider other candidates. I truly would. I mean, this shouldn't go to the clerk of court's
Instead of
office.
bloviating, can you just make a motion and offer a name? Why don't you make a motion and offer
I have.
us
I've offered a name. Commissioner Richard Helms has offered a name. That's 2 additional names right
We're
there.
talking about tonight.
Well,
Offer a name.
I would love to hear a name from either of you, and I would, in all earnestness, consider that
I make a
candidate.
motion that we fill the vacancy with Mr. Clancy Balcom. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
No.
There you go. Okay, the next item up for business is item 23-666, 2023 Critical Intersection Design. I want to recognize Bjorn Hansen, Senior Planner, for comments from county staff.
Evening again, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board. This is a follow-up from last month where we presented on our list of intersections to be approved. The next step is to design a set of them. This is something we have done in the past. It's actually the 4th time we would submit an application through CARTPO to help design intersections of concern to us. These applications are due at the end of the month, so if you do have questions, we could come back and answer them for your second meeting in October and still be able to meet the deadline. We have a total budget of $240,000 that's calculated by multiplying the 6 intersections we're proposing at a per intersection cost of $40,000. These are grants, requires a 20% local match, so it's $8,000 per location. All of these intersections are inside a municipality, so each of the affected municipalities are helping share in the cost. This cost would come due in FY25 with the work starting July 1st when the funds are available. The benefits are that we evaluate these intersections. It allows us to respond quickly to funding opportunities from either CARTPO or the NCDOT. It allows us to take designs forward that have engineering judgment as well as significant public feedback, so that when we take something forward, we have confidence that this is locally supported, and also that we have a professional cost estimate developed so it reduces the incidence of significant overruns in the future. These are the 6 intersections we're proposing. Not all of them were approved by you last month. 4 of them were. Rogers Road and Wesley Chapel Road was actually designed 7 years ago, but Indian Trail would like to advance this project, and they recognize that the design and the cost estimate is probably obsolete at this point, so they would like to evaluate it. And Joe Carr and Marvin, in the village of Marvin, was actually identified in the previous round in 2019, but it wasn't on our federal aid system, which is a subset of the road network that allows federal dollars to be spent on them. We successfully added that road to the network that allows it to be submitted. I'll note that Marvin has 2 intersections. We only had enough money to partner on 5 municipalities. Marvin wanted to participate in this process, so they're providing all of the local match for the Joe Carr and Marvin intersection. So the municipalities are coming up with $28,000. We are contributing $20,000. Again, timeline is we submit by the end of October. Commissioner Brian Helms is the CARTPO representative, so he would be voting on this in February. If funding were awarded, we would immediately issue an RFQ and try and get all that work completed so we can issue a notice to proceed as soon as the funds are available in July of next year, and the work would take until mid-2025 to be complete. So this is an example of the type of work that was done in the past with intersections that have been funded with designs that we helped lead. So this has been a fruitful process. So the requested action is, again, to authorize staff to submit this application. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize staff to submit planning grant applications to the Charlotte Regional Transportation Planning Organization. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
The next matter on business is item 23692, re-adoption of the resolution to direct the expenditure of opioid settlement funds. I want to recognize Michelle Lancaster with the County Manager's Office for comments on this item. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here. I have a couple of items for you tonight, and first I'm going to do the opioid settlement readoption and an additional action that they're actually item 23692 and 23694. I ask you to take those together if you would, and then I'll do a legislative update, which doesn't require any action tonight. So specifically, I'm asking you to readopt the resolution to direct the expenditures of the opioid settlement funds. This is actually a simple action that only does one thing. The previous resolution had more than one strategy selected for some of the funded programs. You'll remember that Appendix B that we adopted as an organization had numerous strategies that we could select for how those programs were funded. We have gotten feedback recently from the Attorney General's office that they only want one strategy for each funded program. So what I've done is selected a primary strategy for each of the endorsed programs, and that's what this readopted resolution does tonight, and that's that specific action. The second set of actions is more specific to the treatment court program that this board has endorsed and authorized. You'll recall that specifically what we had anticipated doing is working with Judge Hucks in employing those treatment programs and working through the AOC, the state side of the operations, to fund positions for them. You approved $700,000 to fund that program. As I've spent more time with Judge Hucks really working through how this would operate. What we're asking the board to do is actually add some positions on the county side of the classification and pay plan for a variety of reasons. Currently, the county funds one DWI treatment court coordinator that's been in place since 2014. What this does is really align these additional positions with that current classification and structure, and it will also allow Judge Hucks to have some staff who currently work on the county side take these positions and run that program the way that I think would be appropriate. So the specific action is adding a director of treatment court at a pay grade 224 to the county's pay and classification plan, renaming the DWI treatment court coordinator classification to treatment court coordinator at a pay grade 217, and then that general classification will have specific treatment court coordinator positions, DWI, family treatment court, and veterans treatment court, and then removing the driving while intoxicated treatment court coordinator because we wouldn't be utilizing that anymore, and approving 3 new position FTEs under the county's pay plan. Additionally, before you take that action, since I'm here, I just wanted to give you an update also on the work that we're doing on the opioid settlement funds. So you'll recall that we were going to have a staff team as well as our work with Wingate University to take place. That has started. We are meeting on a weekly basis, have met with every program that the county has authorized funding for, and are really doing, I think, some good work that you're going to be pleased with when you see that. Additionally, there was another item that had actually been raised by Commissioner Stoney Rushing when he was with us about looking for some opportunities with UCPS and how we could use some of those opioid funds. So we actually have a team of staff, the Sheriff's Office, some folks from Human Services, particularly from the Behavioral Health Collaborative, and our Community Support and Outreach, and staff from UCPS, who are working deliberately to come up with a program that we think would fit the funding and also work to help UCPS in a gap that they're going to have because of someone who's retiring, who does their disciplinary and drug education program. So we're trying to see how we can leverage these dollars as well as our own staff opportunities to create something that would really work for the community and for UCPS. And so we've had a couple of meetings, we're going to have a couple more, and then we'll come back to you with a recommendation on the potential to use those funds for that. So again, I'm asking you for these actions, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Does anyone have any comments or questions?
Madam Vice Chair. It's not really a question, more of a statement. First of all, thank you, Michelle. Really appreciate the update. I'm excited about the UCPS partnership as well. So this is something that Stoney and I discussed before his passing also. And one of the things that we sort of envisioned was something similar to like a DARE program, like what we had when we were children, and many of the county residents had as well. Something that would provide some education there to younger folks to try to avoid problems in the future. So I'm very much interested to see how that progresses. Thank you very much for your efforts.
Absolutely, you're welcome.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the revision to the Union County pay classification plan to include the following job classifications and pay grades, to add a director with the treatment court at the pay grade 224, to rename DWI treatment court coordinator classification to treatment court coordinator pay grade 217, and to remove driving while intoxicated treatment court coordinator pay grade 217, and approve 3 FTEs for treatment court facilities and support with 1 treatment court director and 2 treatment court coordinators. And to re-adopt the resolution to direct the expenditure of opioid settlement funds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
being here tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for working on all of this for us.
Absolutely. I think I have your next item too, so I can jump right in there.
Okay.
The next item, again, is not for action. Since I was here tonight, I thought it was a good opportunity to give you a legislative update. This is one of the items I'm continuing to work on for the county. As I think everybody's aware, the state budget was adopted by the General Assembly. The governor chose not to veto that, but also not to sign it into law, which means the 10-day clock had to run. So tomorrow, we should have a state budget, which we're all very excited about. So I'm going to update you on the legislative agenda items that we have, and also some budget items that were included for Union County so that you're aware of those. And so some of these you've seen before, but this just gives you the highlights. The county line issue, the Mecklenburg and Union County line issue was one of our items. There has been a bill filed, House Bill 457, from Representatives Arp, Willis, and Brody, and we actually expect this to be handled later this session. So last week and this week, the General Assembly is in skeleton session. We expect them back next week to address redistricting and any bills that the governor has vetoed. He has vetoed a handful, and we do expect them to continue to do business for some time. So we expect that the county line issue is going to be taken up, and we will keep you posted on what that looks like exactly. The towing and booting vehicles on county property, that was actually enacted as session law. The Union County Water seeking the flexibility regarding the utility, nothing has changed in this from my last update. There really was no solution that we were able to come up with to tackle this, and our delegation was not interested at this time in moving that one forward. Well testing, that was seeking clarifying language regarding potable water. So there were a couple of bills that Representative Brody filed that were enacted that have some language around potable water, so I'm still digging through those to see if we've got a direct correlation, but there was some movement in that space. You had a solid waste scrap tire disposal item. This is where we were looking for some additional funding for counties to better manage the scrap tire disposal. This is one that the county loses money on an annual basis. We had been hopeful. There had been a bill that was filed, and we were anticipating seeing Senator Proctor's bill included in the budget conference report, but it was not when the budget was passed, so we did not see any action there. Medicaid expansion, I think everybody is aware that was really tied to enactment of the budget, so we expect to see Medicaid enhancement really happen December 1st. So this board had approved some additional positions for DSS, which I had checked in with Ashley Lance today. You approved 12 positions. You got 3 of those filled. This is something that the entire state is going to be really tackling to try to hire positions to handle an increase in Medicaid. And so this is one that you should really expect to get some updates on in the coming months as this rolls out, to make sure that we're really able to handle whatever that increase looks like when it actually is reality. But that I know that staff is continuing to try to recruit the best they can, but with a lot of positions, that's incredibly difficult. So this is one that, that staff will really keep their eye on. Additionally, you had some requests around child welfare, and there were a lot of pieces about child welfare in the LME MCO system in the budget, and so we're continuing to review those. There are dozens of kind of little component parts, so we're looking at those to see exactly what they meant, but there was some action in that space. Item 8 that you had was around the definition of adult entertainment, and particularly establishing drag queen performances as adult entertainment at adult establishments. So there is House Bill 673 that deals with this specifically pretty head-on, which is still pending in House Judiciary. And as I mentioned, the General Assembly is still in session, so this may get some movement. There was a bill that it somewhat touches on this space, Senate Bill 579, which actually passed on September 22nd, right after the budget was adopted. And actually, the governor signed this into law this afternoon after I had put this presentation together. And so you can see there what that does, but we'll continue to follow House Bill 673. And then lastly, we had asked for a regional medical examiner's office. This was a topic that was really important to a lot of folks in the community. And so the budget, and I'll talk more about specifically what was in the budget, but that has been established, a South Piedmont Regional Autopsy Center, and funding provided to provide service to Union County and 8 other counties in the state. So in terms of budget items, again, I'll jump right into that particular item. In the budget, there's $15 million that should come to Union County in FY24 for that autopsy center, and $5 million in FY25. So that's capital funding. I've asked for specific clarification from DHHS on what we should expect and when we should expect those dollars. And then there's additionally operational funds, $2 million for each of the next 2 years to contribute to the operations of that facility. $5 million for the barn project was included in the budget. $700,000 for Walden Pond lake dredging. This is a companion piece to $400,000 that we received a few years ago for this particular dredging project. And then there's also $27.5 million for Union County to use for $26 million for sewer expansion and $1.5 million for the Waxhaw Graywater System project. And so that's spelled out, I picked that up exactly the way it's written in the budget. And then while this last one is not exactly county funding, but it will be important to the county because we are responsible for physical location and capital expense. There is included the establishment of a public defender's office, 18 staff with the funding that will go to the AOC to allow that staffing to happen. So this is an office that has not been in place that now the county will be responsible for housing in the future. So I think that's an important one for you to take note of. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
No questions. Thank you very much
Thank
for that
you.
update.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michelle.
That brings us to the county manager's comments.
Thank you. I have no comments tonight.
Thank you. Commissioner Richard Helms. Commissioner David Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to recognize all of the members of the public who came up and spoke during informal comments. We had a wide spectrum of opinion that was shared, and I think robust opinion and exercise of the First Amendment is something to be lauded and embraced, regardless of how we might feel about the specific content. So keep it coming. Let your voices be heard, and I welcome that sort of input. So thank you.
Commissioner Brian Helms.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I actually agree with David. I appreciate the speakers that showed up tonight and spoke, all the speakers. Certainly appreciate the dialogue and appreciate you being here. I also want to say to Ms. Lancaster, thank you very much for the update. I've probably been asking, I know at least 4 or 5 times now, if we get an update on the legislative agenda. Certainly appreciate you being here as well. Thank you to all of our staff who is here present at the meeting. Thank you to Mr. Balcom and your family. Thank you to Anne Marie and your family for being here. Certainly appreciate all of you. I would like to say this too, on the subject of the appointment. So we have until October 7th at 11:59 p.m., I believe. Is that correct, Mr. Kay?
You need to count the date, but that sounds right to me.
Okay. So we have until that point in time to make the appointment as a board. What I would like to say is this, is that at our last meeting, we did have nominations. And David, I will say this, I somewhat agree with you in the fact that we are not necessarily obligated to take the party's recommendation. But this is where I disagree. Where I disagree with Commissioner Williams is we can't just pull people off the street. We can't pull people out of the crowd for a position like this. When I said that I agree with the GOP's process, I said so because I've seen it. They require biography. They require resumes. They vet these candidates. They vet them out. They have a process. So to just, ask someone to be in the room and then to nominate them is incorrect. We have to vet out the correct candidate for this position. So that's why I stand in support of Mr. Balcom. That'll be all tonight. Thank you.
I agree with that, Commissioner Helms, and I will also say that it would be unwise to make the nomination of 2 individuals or any individual with the 6 individuals who actually followed the process and submitted their application, showed up and introduced themselves, did Q&A, and expressed why they desired sitting in the vacancy and serving Union County. It is also dumbfounding to nominate someone who specifically publicly posted they had no interest in the vacancy. So there were other comments tonight regarding the library. I think it's very important for everyone to understand that that we have spoken with staff. That policy was written by the last board, and we have all agreed that we are going to revisit the library policy with this new board. And some of us here tonight worked behind the scenes with the last county manager to write that policy last April when it got changed. Some of us were not here when that new policy got changed, but we all agree that the policy needs to be revisited, and we will do that. This board does not see applications when they come in. The county library and the county manager sees when the applications come in. That is not something that we have seen, but we've heard you, and we're going to revisit that policy. And given the history of the last board, I think this board will come up with something that everyone can agree on. So we will commit to that. With that being said, those are all the comments I have tonight, and I will make a motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.